Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV Sports Spotlight. During this hour, we're bringing you highlights from our shows focused on all things sports in the DMV. Please be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. First up, Pitt Sports Zone. Hear from Morgan State defensive coordinator Antone Sewell about the expectations of this upcoming season. Next, we catch up on the Washington Mystics post-game press conference after their game against the Golden State Valkyries. On Baltimore Ravens Rundown, we take a look at the highlights and press conferences from the first practice of Week 1 versus the Buffalo Bills. Lastly, we catch up with Candi Waller on Coaching from the Couch for a Washington Commander preseason recap and the outlook of this upcoming season. Stay locked in, and as always, enjoy this week's episode of Bowie TV's Sports Spotlight. What's going on, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone. It's going down. Listen, he's not a familiar face, but he's definitely new to this segment. We got the great Coach Antone Sewell, Morgan State University defensive coordinator. What it do?
What's going on, big dog?
What's going on, my guy?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Happy to be here.
Appreciate you. Go ahead, take us away, Sydney.
Okay, today we have the pleasure of speaking with Coach Antone Sewell, the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator for the Morgan State Bears. Coach Sewell is a defensive mastermind with over 2 decades of experience developing winning programs and championship caliber athletes. Before joining Morgan, he built one of the most dominant defenses in Division II football at Bowie State University, helping lead the Bulldogs to 3 straight CIAA championships. He also gained valuable NFL coaching experience through the prestigious Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship with the Baltimore Ravens. As a former standout player himself and now a respected leader on the sidelines, Coach Sewell has dedicated his career to building not only strong athletes, but also strong men on and off the field. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to dive into your journey and your insights.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And my guys, you ain't never give me an introduction like that before, bro. Normally when we do interviews, we just set up the camera and you start asking questions. So that's a good pickup on your part, man. Good talent acquisition.
Hey, listen, I ain't about to take the credit for it. When she ran it past me, man, and then, the first one she did was with NFL Network, Steve Weiss. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It was on.
Oh, that's good stuff, though. That's good stuff. I appreciate you guys having me on this evening.
Thank you.
Tom, what's going on, man? Listen, the season is here. It's here. South Alabama, Saturday.
Yes, sir.
What are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel like we had a really good training camp as we roll into the first day of school starts tomorrow. So we've actually had a couple of extra days of just football before the guys have to, really get into the grind of football and class and, workouts and weights kind of all combined in one. But I think we were able to get a lot accomplished over this time. We lost a lot of guys last year. So, had an opportunity to really spend a lot of time with, their quote unquote replacements, the new guys that we added to the fold this year, both defensively as well as offensively. So I think guys are starting to gel. We've, kind of had some ups and downs, which is to be expected during training camp, but I think we headed in the right direction. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, just how we go out and compete this upcoming weekend.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, can you share a little bit about your journey from becoming a player, from being a player at Bowie State University to now becoming a coach at Morgan State?
It's been a long journey, but not a whole lot of stops along the way. Pretty much everywhere I've been with familiar faces. Obviously now Coach Wilson being our head coach at Bowie, he was someone who I was a student actually with at Bowie. I was a young guy when he was a senior. So once I started playing ball, he was actually one of the coaches for the football team. So my first year playing and his first year coaching, coincided. And from there, once I graduated, went to coach at Fort Valley State with John Morgan, who was my defensive coordinator the last 2 years at Bowie. From there, came back, had a quick stop back at Bowie as a volunteer for a year, then followed my college head coach, Henry Frazier, down to Prairie View A&M. Was, help turn that thing around and win a championship there. Came back to Bowie and, as you mentioned earlier, kind of finished there on a very high note, winning those 3 straight CIAA championships. Had another quick pit stop at Alabama State University during spring of 2022. Definitely appreciate Coach Eddie Robinson for giving me an opportunity, as a Division II coordinator to have an opportunity to jump up to the Division I FCS level and still be a coordinator is something that, I don't, I understand doesn't happen too often. But obviously when Coach Wilson took the job at Morgan, having the opportunity to be back here, closer to home and everything, and, still have that same opportunity to be a Division I defensive coordinator, was kind of something I felt like I couldn't pass up. So had the opportunity to come back here and, still trying to get this thing turned around to the point where we can be consistently competing at a championship level as well. But like I said, we've been close. I want to say we finished third in the MEAC the last 2 years. They have us picked to finish third again this year, but obviously we're hoping to exceed some of those expectations, and then we have a good enough team to get some things done this upcoming season.
Absolutely. Coach, you've been around championship level defenses. What excites you most about the Morgan State team heading into the 2025 season?
I think that as I told the guys when we first walked in, we're going to look a lot different than we have in the past. We've made a concerted effort to get, kind of bigger, faster, and stronger at a lot of positions. I think we've always kind of had, a standout guy here and there, or a guy that you look at and say, hey, he's what it looks like. But I think now we've done a good job of kind of, getting more prototypical guys in, and that allows us to do some different things because we don't necessarily have to scheme up, guys to be in position to be successful. Some of those guys just, as long as they're in the right place, their athletic ability will allow them to do some special things, I believe. So it's just a matter of everybody getting comfortable with each other. When we get out there on Saturday and things start to go a lot faster than they have been in practice, I'm interested to see, kind of how those guys gel together and able to fight through a little bit of adversity. But I think once we come out from that and they realize that we're gonna be okay, I think that the future for this defense is definitely very bright.
Absolutely.
What's the most important quality you look for in a defensive player?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a debate we have often in our office. I wasn't a guy who had great measurables. I think I was probably good height wise, but wasn't the biggest. Didn't weigh the most, wasn't the strongest or the fastest. So intangibles were something that really helped me get over the hump as a player. So for me, I would just say it's hard to say the most important, but I would say one of the most important things is just just having that mindset. Having the mindset and being determined. Being determined and focused and disciplined, just to make sure that hey, understanding that I have a job to do, and my teammates are relying on me, and I'm not going to stop until I reach the point where I can be someone who's reliable and dependable for my teammates.
Absolutely. How have you seen the defense develop during camp, and what area do you feel most confident about?
I think that I've seen those guys come together, and I think the communication amongst the players has been the biggest growth that we've made throughout camp. Just guys getting comfortable within the scheme and allowing their voices to kind of resonate throughout the group. But a lot of that comes from just that level of comfort growing. We know we have a few older guys in the room, but just trying to get those younger guys to understand that, hey, we need them to be on the same page with the older guys in terms of understanding the scheme and making the correct calls and those kind of things. If I had to say one strength of our defense, it will probably be our linebacker core, just because we have probably the most experienced players returning at that group. We have 3 seniors in that group, and That's obviously that's actually by far the most seniors we have out of any position group. But not only are they seniors, those guys are experienced players as well. We were actually talking earlier where we're not necessarily a young team, but we don't have a lot of guys that have a lot of Division I experience and definitely not playing together. I think that group probably has the most experienced guys on our defense. So we're definitely relying on those guys heavily to lead us in the direction we're trying to go to.
Absolutely.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge you faced during your coaching career, and how did you overcome that challenge?
The biggest challenge. That's a good one. I don't really want to say anything on the field. I would probably say the biggest challenge that I've had to face is just kind of just being an unproven guy. When I first got the job at Bowie, I was 29 years old. Coach Wilson obviously knew what he was getting and who he was hiring, but nobody else really knew that. I followed a guy in Durante Jones, who was a Morgan State alum. Actually, he's now the assistant defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He was the defensive coordinator at Bowie State prior to me taking over, and they were coming off a season of being the #1 defense in the country. So, getting hired as a guy who had never been a coordinator before, following behind that and inheriting a group of, I want to say, 9 returning starters. It was one of those things where, hey, everybody was kind of looking at me like, what are you going to do to kind of follow that up? Right. And the mistake I made early on was, kind of being apologetic and trying to, get those guys to like not doing a good enough job of getting those guys to kind of put the past in the past and trying to live up to, what they had done. But once I found my own identity and, kind of got on solid, got my feet on solid ground, we ended up having a lot of success. And, I would say, throughout the time there, I think I did a good job of solidifying myself as a, pretty good coach and, putting some pretty good defenses on the field as well.
Absolutely. For sure. As you stated earlier, you guys have ranked defensively nationally, consecutively, and I shared that before, is that, the standard is the standard when it comes to your defense. And, when you lose somebody like Elijah, as great and as dominant as he is, your expectation is that whoever that is replacing him, gives that same output. It's the same demeanor. And we've seen that over time with your defense. You had Toles at safety, and you had Knock at corner. That defense was, you had a lot of standout, but they played together as a unit so well, that whenever there was a mistake, it was always overshadowed because they played together as a unit, so they were able to mask those areas that normally where other teams will get exposed from. So my next question, Coach, I want to go ahead and move to South Alabama. South Alabama has a reputation for speed and balance on offense. What stands out to you about their scheme and their offense?
Their speed and their balance. Not to be funny, but they're a very fast team. They do a lot schematically to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. One of the first things I noticed in watching them, going back and watching some of their games and kind of watching the live broadcast of some of their games is you hear the commentators talk about how great they were after contact. So you talk about the speed, but those guys have some very, very powerful runners. They will run the ball down your throat if you allow them to, so it's going to be important that early on that we're able to stand up and not necessarily stop the run, because, you don't stop a team from running the ball who runs the ball as well as they do, but to be able to make them earn everything that they get. It's important that, we're disciplined and we don't create a lot of big explosive plays for them early on, or if they do, it has to be, hey, there, a guy breaks 3 or 4 tackles and runs for a long way, or a guy goes up and just out jumps somebody for the ball. It can't be blown coverages and guys running free in the secondary. It can't be allowing the quarterback to get on the perimeter and make plays with his legs. It can't be guys out of their gaps and allowing the running backs to have untouched, plays for long gains. Like I tell our guys all the time, man, when you're going to face a FBS opponent, regardless of who it is, the biggest thing for us is we got to go in there and compete and just kind of let the chips fall where they may. Never going into it with the mindset of, hey, we're going to lose or we're expecting to lose. We understand we're underdogs. We understand that the quote unquote odds are against us, but we're gonna go in there and give it our best shot. And we've been competitive with some teams who were expected to I guess blow us out or to kind of do whatever. But we don't go into it with that mindset of, hey, it's not David against Goliath, or it's not hey, we're trying to shock the world. We just want to go out and compete. We want to go out and compete and put our best foot forward. And that's really against anybody who we play. And I tell our guys all the time, if we go out and we take our shot and we hit them with all we got, and they still come out victorious at the end of the day, we'll shake their hands and get ready for the next one.
Hey, all. I know tough night for you guys out there on the floor. Sydney, when you're kind of in this spot with just such a young team that might not have gone through something like this before, kind of what are you telling to the team and what are you doing to try and keep them heads up and in it?
I think it's just important to keep that, like, try to focus on executing and try to focus on like making the plays that we're trying to make. Like, I just think it's really, really important that we keep competing. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes you don't get the call that you want. But it's really important to kind of keep moving to that next play. Shug, Lucy, it's nice that they're here to just take some questions. I thought they did that. I thought there's some moments some of our other players did, but overall, it just that hasn't been really how we've approached things. It seems like we'll take a couple hits and we're reeling for about a quarter or two, and it really takes us some time to snap out of it. And I can't put my finger on it, but that's a little bit of what it looks like at times right now.
Are you at the point where you're starting to get a little bit concerned about that with you guys? Or is it something is this a process you guys have to go through?
Concern in what way?
Well, just in the manner of you saying how you guys are reeling here early in games and then being able to respond.
Yeah, I just I think that's I mean that's like 4 or 5 games, like roughly. I don't think that's who we are. So we're certainly not playing great, but I don't yeah, I mean I don't they put a lot into the season, so I'm not running for the hills or anything like that. Tough moment, tough times for us. This is all we got and it's all we need.
Shug, you were able to find your shot tonight, 17 points, 6 of 10 shooting. What were you seeing from the defense that was maybe causing the rest of the team to have some issues?
I think that I mean Valkyries do a good job of knowing what we do. And I think they play really good defense. Just packing the paint, taking away our strength, which is giving it to the post, playing inside out. So I think we kind of struggle with that and trying to find our post players and maybe forcing it a little bit. But I think kudos to Valkyries. They play good defense.
And then one for Lucy. How are you handling kind of this losing streak? I know your role coming in off the bench, you're trying to do all that you can in a limited amount of time, but how are you handling just the losses kind of piling up like that?
Yeah, I think we all know that we have a really good team, and AC keeps reminding us in the locker room that to be great, you have to go through some tough times and you have to learn because it's not all going to be butterflies and rainbows, and these times will make you better. So I think if we can get through these tough times, and we're all sticking together and we're going to get through these tough times, we'll just come out that much better.
That's all I have. Thank you.
And Coach, what did you like about the way your team played in the second half?
I thought there's some execution and sharing the ball that was nice, and you know, obviously, you know, things look a little bit better when that ball goes in. Yeah, you know, so a little bit there to build on. You know, and you know, we've played better. We like so, you know, not.
I appreciate you being here. Good practice. Got the guys back from the break. They got away for a few days and saw family. Some traveled, some didn't. And now we're back at it. So this is kind of our get back in the swing of things practice, all pointing toward the Bills. Of course, Wednesday will be the first kind of official practice of the week. So what questions you have?
John, first game this year is where you're going back to preseason. Do you plan to talk about the game at all to the players? I mean, it's a lot of players were in that game are still back here.
Sure. I mean, we're preparing for the Bills. That's the team we played. That's the last game they played. Second to last game they played. The last game we played. The last game they played that we cared about, honestly. But we're watching that game. You watch all the games. You watch the preseason games. It's just a thorough evaluation.
Does that game serve as motivation, do you think, or because of the turnover, maybe not?
I think, yeah, sure. I mean, everything kind of motivates you. It's probably true for any kind of circumstance. You always get motivated by disappointment for sure, and that's something that certainly motivates us.
John, when would you need Jair back for him to factor into week one? And do
I need to practice him this week. Yeah, that would be the key. So we'll see where he's at Wednesday. He did some things today, so that's kind of how it works. But in terms of just injury updates, probably not going to get much out of me, at this point, unless it's an obvious one, unless we know what's going to, if a guy's going to play or he's not going to play. You might get a little more on Friday, just because you'll know who hasn't practiced. If they haven't practiced, they're unlikely to play. Unless they've been playing all the way up to that point, then maybe they'll play. So I probably won't tell you for sure, unless I feel like it's obvious that everybody knows already. So that's where we're at with that. Does that make sense?
John, did you mention Jair did something out? Was he doing something out?
He was working. No, he was working today on physical stuff.
Physical stuff. Okay.
He's moving.
Okay.
Do you know with likelihood that he's not going to be there this week?
As I said, that's probably one I'm not going to share at this point right now. We'll see as the week goes on.
When you look at the Bills game from last year, do you look at it from do you flush it, or is there anything you kind of take from that into outside of the obvious into this game?
Yeah, no, you certainly don't flush it because there's a lot to learn. I mean, we have to understand how the game went, how they played us, what the schemes were. There's a lot of chess moves going on in that game that will be built on this game on both sides of the ball. And then, yeah, of course, the way the game is played, what we could have done better, certainly, what we did well. Same for them, I'm sure, too.
John, are you guys sticking with the captain by games thing, or is that something? I remember last year you had captain patches on guys' jerseys. I think that was for the playoffs, right? But you're still going to do per game, not season. Okay.
Starters from that game in the divisional loss in Buffalo return. I mean, there's a lot of guys come back. How much do you feel that last game, will serve as motivation heading to this one?
It's going to be a great motivation. It was the last game that we played as a unit, so to go back there and to play the same team that we lost to, that we believe that we should have won. We made some inflicting mistakes, so everybody's fired, everybody's pumped up, everybody's ready to go. It's one day at a time at this point. So.
Is it something you guys discuss at all, or make mention of in the meeting, or just in casual conversation? Is it something you guys even do you discuss it? For the revenge factor, or anything like that you guys talk about, and whether it's conversations, meetings, whatever.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely you want to get that bad taste out of your mouth. Last game that we played over there. So gets everybody fired up and ready to go, and gives us a motivational factor just to put a better foot forward in practice.
No. I mean, a lot of goes into building a team over the course of an entire offseason, but now that week one is here, how do things change when you get to this point? Everything's kind of looking ahead to week one.
Yeah, just locking in on the little things now. Camp is over with, and it's just about locking on the little things, being on point and everything, because now it really, really counts. So everybody's just locking in, doing the little things right, and it's getting in that in-season routine. We have a camp routine, they have an in-season routine. You're clocking in different, you're going home at different times, so you have to adjust to the in-season routines. That's what we're doing right now.
When you talk to your teammates about the game, you said it's been discussed. The new guys, I mean, is that something you try and pass along to the guys that weren't here and are part of it last year at the end?
Yeah, just the mentality that we're going into there with, just locking in and just doing all that we can do as a team, and just playing Raven football, offense, defense, special teams, and just getting that taste out of our mouth. We're definitely having that game last year and losing and going back to it. The first game of the season this year, it definitely gives us like a little bit more of like excitement, a little bit of a motivation to still go out there and do what we can do.
Have you gone back and watched that game?
Yes, I have.
What was that like for you?
It's not a good feeling we lost. There's things that we did good, there's things that we did bad, but the bad override the good, that's what we lost. So, definitely something that we're looking to, and we really want to tighten the bolts on that. So.
Do you like the idea of starting in Buffalo, knowing where last season ended and knowing what you hope to accomplish this year? Do you like the idea of getting that bad taste out of your mouth week 1 and going right back there?
It don't matter where we play, for real, honestly. But the fact that it's in Buffalo and that was the last team that we played and that's the last place that we played, it gives us more extra motivation, to get that taste out of our mouth. The last time that we were here, we lost, so we want to change that by executing practice and stay going every time.
How important is it to start fast, just overall, but especially as a defense?
It's huge, setting the tone. Starting fast sets the tone for the whole, not only the defense, but for the whole team as well. Starting fast and finishing strong, that's what we're all about. So it starts with practice, though. It starts with everybody being locked in on the game plan, trusting ZO, being in your spot and doing your 111.
Washington said that as a defensive line, he didn't like how you guys played in that game. What are the focuses for you guys from that game heading into this one?
Stopping the run, they have some good backs. That backs are really shifty, making them one-dimensional, making the QB very uncomfortable. When he's very, very uncomfortable, he starts to do things that, are unorthodox of him. So we want to put him in spots that are very, very tight, spots that are very uncomfortable, so we can capitalize those opportunities.
Marlon has talked about feeling like the defense isn't as feared as he thinks it should be. Is that a thought that's shared by other defensive leaders? Like, have you guys talked about that as a group, like trying to bring that back, or what's your take on that?
I saw something online about that. It wasn't something that we talked about in the defensive group. That's how Marlon feels. That's how he said it. I feel like we have the right guys on this team, on the defense, offense. Everybody can take it all the way to the top, and it just starts in practice and it starts in just winning games every week. So, that's how he feels, and I believe in the guys in this team, in this locker room, and I'm all about my guys and what they can do.
In watching you guys pretty much every day this summer, we kind of noticed the emphasis on takeaways, creating turnovers. Mm-hmm. How much of a point of emphasis do you feel going into this game? Not only getting to Josh Allen, which is sometimes difficult, but also maybe getting the ball away, stripping, making something else happen. Well.
It's huge. It's huge when you take the ball away from the offense. When you win the turnover battles, you're more likely to win the game. So, I feel like the last time we went out there, they won the turnover battle. I think we had 0 turnovers and they had 3, I believe. So, and it was still a tight game. So, just imagine we even had the same amount of takeaways as they did. If you really put the math, So, I think that making emphasis on making turnovers in practice and then translating into the game is going to make us win games for sure.
A lot of people see that Buffalo offensive line as being one of the best in the NFL. I know you haven't played this year's version, but do you have any thoughts on their overall quality and whether this is kind of a measuring stick game for what your defensive line could be up against a line of that caliber?
Yeah, they have a good O-line, I think they have all the guys that they had last year. It's going to be a good test for us, We are watching the film that we did last year and just things that worked, things that didn't work, ways that we can scheme them up, and that's what we're doing now in practice. So we're all excited about it. We're all fired up to get ready to go. It's like revving a car up, I'm saying? You're getting the engine going, but it's not takeoff time yet, you know what I mean? So you just have to be patient and just stay revving, stay practicing, stay sharp, and you're ready to play.
As a team watching some of that film from that last Buffalo game, kind of how do you feel the general feeling is? Because a lot of guys are returning from that game too.
Yeah, definitely more happy with the result, but you saw a lot of good things on there and a lot of positive things as well.
How much is that being talked about, if at all, in the locker room, especially with some of the turnover that's gone on? I mean, has that been, when you saw that game on your schedule, something you guys started to converse about inside?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that was the last place, we played last season, and to be able to start off the season like that, it's definitely been talked about, and we're very excited for that opportunity.
Ryan, just how do things change when you get to week one?
In terms of,
there's a lot been kind of building up to this point, and now you get into a regular season mode. How do things change from a preparation standpoint, mindset standpoint?
I think it's just a little more focused on the opponent. Every day stays the same in terms of practice and intensity and what you're trying to get out of each day. But I think we're narrowing down on the details of what our opponent's going to try to do against us.
Well, you've had a lot of experience in getting seasons off to good starts and seasons like last year where you got off to an 0-2 start. How much do you share with some of the younger players the importance, when you have a first place schedule, the importance of a fast start?
Yeah, it's very important. Every game is so important in this league. You don't have that many opportunities, and it's very important to start off fast and not try to play from behind later on in the season, and that's what we intend to do.
What's going on at the end of practice with the O-line, kind of hanging out?
That's just us doing extra drills, extra individual work, working on our technique, and there's a lot to always harness when you're playing O-line and try to get better at. So just have the guys out there doing extra drills.
Is that something that you have kind of prompted, that you've kind of pulled guys into doing that, or is that something that you guys came to collectively? Or
I just kind of like doing drills, and I would pull some of the young guys over to give me a look or give me something I needed, and other guys just started joining and just became a thing, and now everyone's kind of getting drills now after practice.
We saw you work a lot with Bullock after practice. Was there something about him that you sort of appreciated, and you said, this is somebody I want to invest my time in?
And Corey?
Yeah, and Corey.
Yeah, no, Corey's a great player. I think Corey's a tremendous player. He's going to be a great add for us on the roster this year. And he's gotten so much better over this offseason, stronger, smarter, more athletic, and he just wants to learn the game and be more technically sound. And, he's asking me a lot of questions, and I'm always here to help him.
What was it like watching his journey from undrafted to practice squad to making the team? Does it inspire some of the older, more experienced guys on the team as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing journey for him, and especially for the type of person that he is. He's a great guy. He's a humble person, and he works really hard. And for someone to, be able to continue his NFL career with that type of background, I'm just very happy for him.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Candi Waller, checking in as I love to do all throughout the calendar year. And guess where we are on the calendar? Yes, welcome to NFL Week 1. Ladies and gentlemen, it has arrived. It's like the time goes by so fast, but at the same time, it's like it takes forever to get here at the same time. So I hope you all are excited that now through 2026, or the top of 2026, there will be football, NFL football, as well as college football, and all the things going on this time of year. As you all are gathering on in on this live, if you are new to the Bowie Television and Coaching from the Couch series family, welcome, welcome, and welcome. If you are returning, welcome to you as well. This is the first live of the year. We've been doing lives for a long time, so we're going to really try to get going on all of the lives. I see comments sharing welcome back. It is good to be back. If you're watching on Facebook, definitely hit the love, like button, thumbs up if you're watching live on YouTube. I have some housekeeping items I want to make sure get squared away. We try to make this as interactive as possible. I see Eric Jessup has joined as well. And so we have some notes here for everyone, right? If you're watching Bowie TV's Coaching from the Couch Live, here are some updates in terms of how we're going to list off questions and prioritize all of your amazing comments. Feel free to send a super chat or a gift during the live. We appreciate it. we thank you so much. We think it's dope that you're here anyway. So we'll definitely try to get to as many of your comments, but certainly we'll prioritize those that are sending the super chats and gifts and all of the things. If you are watching on TV and you missed the live, hello to you as well. You can find us throughout Prince George's County, Maryland, on Comcast on 2 channels, channels 190 and 1097. And in terms of the lives, so you all know I'm traveling. So, you know, the real try is to every day after the game day at 7:30 p.m. are the lives, unless, of course, there's otherwise noted. That's what it says. So sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So, but that is generally how we try to do things. But try to stick with us. You all, again, if you're watching through the Facebook or if you're watching through the YouTube, we're going to get right on into it. I see Lamar Bland has joined as well. We're going to really try to just hop right on in. If this is your first time watching, right, we play a game called What's Your One Word? And I pop this up at any given moment of the day and time, who knows? But in this moment, this is what's your one word to share how you're feeling about the Washington Commanders season, going into the season, right? At this point in time of the year, every single fan in the NFL, every single team, you name it, everybody thinks their team is going to the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks that, and everybody's excited. It's fun for many. So I see that Kevin Williams says he's excited. I'm seeing all the things: excited, hopeful, optimistic, to name a few. Some of the same words popping up there. So all I have to say is this is going to be very interesting. This is going to be very interesting. And that's my one word. It's interesting. I'm interested, and this is going to be very interesting for many different reasons, which we could probably get into and dive into on another show. But for now, that's my one word. Okay. So you all have gotten the ground rules. Feel free to share super chat. Thanks. All of those good things you're watching from YouTube. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. If you are a returning watcher, you know that I play clips, show pictures, all of that during the live show, so that it in through our segments as well. We should do that as well. But a lot to get the conversation going. So as we're sharing the videos, definitely drop all of your thoughts, because guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to dive right on in. We like to all saw some of our media colleagues talking about this player before preseason game 3 during warmups. And I was trying to ask him the question, and so it did come out as clean and as crisp. But this player here has been more of a, just a huge competitor, and just has been an asset to this team. And definitely write this one down.
Hey, Noah.
I'm feeling well. Anytime it's good to get back out on the field with the guys and, participate, it's a good feeling. So, I'm ready to get going.
And I'm going to play this clip as well.
That you may have, we were here one day at practice, you had a situation, you had to go out, maybe injury related, but it looks like you're doing well, you're engaged in practice. So overall, how was kind of like that process in terms of maybe thinking you were injured and it wasn't as bad as perhaps you thought it may have been?
Yeah, anytime you get banged up, it's not fun. But I was blessed to be okay and be able to get back in time for training camp and work out with the guys and build towards what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm excited about it.
So So, during the preseason, during this time of year, you do not have to report, teams do not have to report out on what the injuries are, what it may have been, and that's totally fine. Here's what I can tell you. Just as I've shared other players and mentioned, when you think about this wide receiver room, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey. We'll see if they add anyone else, because right now, at the time of this live, there's 5 wide receivers, right? And they have about 3 or so others, right, on the practice squad. But when you think about those 5 and the competitive nature of that group and just the overall talent, there's a lot to be excited about. I've talked about Jalen Lane on other shows, not so much on this one, but again, this rookie class, all 5 of them, Commanders. So you know what I mean by that, okay? Because we've talked a lot about on these shows about the Commanders standard. Absolutely, these 5 are legit. So Noah Brown coming back, and as he said, was happy to be able to come back in time for camp. He looks ready to rock. So we'll see what happens, but certainly you can really see it all come together once you got, Terry back out there, Noah back out there. You see Debo, and you're like, oh, now we understand the energy Cliff Kingsbury was bringing a few weeks ago in his presser when he's like, this is time on task. I got to be able to see all my pieces at the same time and see everybody together. Good to see that band back together, because that is going to be a treat for certain. Definitely drop in the chat if you have any thoughts there. But for certain, keep your eyes on that one. Now I'm going to move into some of my thoughts going into the season, right? So I asked Coach Quinn on the last day of training camp about improvements. And then I also asked him last week about the run defense, because some of what he said in his answer regarding improvements was some of the things that I picked up on and I had noted. So I'm going to share that clip. I'm also going to share the clip about the run defense, because that is something that, while I think it's better than last year this time, could certainly be better. And if you take a good look at the schedule, you know that this is certainly an area that the Commanders absolutely need to be on point with. So let's check out this clip on the improvements.
Hey, Coach. So last day of training camp, and I think I asked you this question last year as well on the last day of training camp.
Oh my gosh, I got to go get the transcript.
Which is there anything keeping you up at night right now? I mean, there's always room for improvement all the time on everything, right? But is there anything that you're like, man, I wish we could have nailed that during camp?
Yeah, it's funny like that. The things that are going good don't keep you up at night. It's the things that you're struggling with and stressed about to go. So this time of year, it's the roster and giving insight to Adam and to his team to make sure we're nailing it, the right playing time at a practice or a game for the evaluations to get there. Fortunately, we've hit a lot of the things that stressed me out. Is the team ready for these end of game moments? And so last year we were new together, and so it was also new for me communicating with Cliff and Joe and Larry in game. We're going to go for here on fourth if it gets to 1, 2, or 3. So for me, having another lap at that all through camp, that's been good. So my biggest stressor is just providing the right information, getting the right looks, and it'll be a tough team for the 53. Tough decisions for sure, but as a coach, that's also what you want, to say, man, these are some really tough decisions. And so I'm definitely looking at those, and that's what's keeping me up.
So keep those things in mind. And some of what he was sharing in terms of the communications across with the coaches, that's still going back to communications overall. And also the messaging of the in-game, like the last minute wins, like just the nail biters, what they were calling the cardiac commanders, all of that. I think this season is going to be a bit different. Not that they can't still win at the clock striking 0, but it's still a notion of, was that luck? was it just a good year? Is this really real with the Washington Commanders in this culture? And I think this is the year to kind of stamp in year 2 to say, yeah, this is real. This is real. What Adam Peters and Coach Quinn are building here, and what Josh Harris and his ownership group, everybody, when you get a chance, always thank them as well, and what they're paying for. Think it's really real. Now, I asked Coach Quinn about the run defense. Take a listen to what he shared with me.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm trying to decide which one. So when you take a look at the preseason and you all's performance, run defense performance, what were your takeaways there, and how did that mirror to where you all landed on the roster?
Sure. I would say our tackling got better as we went, Candi. So first game, I didn't like it at all. Second game got better. As we got to Baltimore, I liked it better. As far as the run defense goes, if I just counted the preseason games, it'd be incomplete. So in totality, I like where we've added guys into the mix. Eddie, JK, Wise, like these are some big, strong guys inside. So I'm pleased with the trajectory there. So it was a combination of adding some personnel, and then I would say like the technique feels better going into it. It'll always be something I see us working on, but our tackling, that's to me the top of the pile. And we're not where I think we need to be and will be. I feel that way every year at this time because it's the thing we don't do full on. And so tackling feels like it gets better defensively kind of as the season grows, and you got to stay on the skill for that. But I'm much more pleased than I am a year ago sitting here at this time, that's for sure.
So my biggest takeaway from that is I'll be watching for that. I'm going to be watching for many things, but you all know I'm going to be watching there. I'm going to have my eye on special teams. Those who have checked me out before know I'm a special teamer, so I'm going to have my eyes locked in on special teams for several different reasons. And that is, but the run defense will have my eyes there. If you were to have any questions for me, definitely send along a super chat or something where I can know that's when you have any questions. I think I've answered many of them. But going into week 1 against the New York Giants, none of these games are flukes. None of them. And I'm going to close the show out with something that I think is very important in terms of a recurring theme about the displays of brotherhood. Some of the displays of brotherhood that I saw with my own eyes, and knowledge of the situation being on site. Because none of these games are a fluke. And at the end of the day, you have to really see and know that these guys really, really genuinely like one another, really love one another. Because then sometimes it be two things. You gotta like, you gotta love, and you gotta, you gotta like the people that you love, right? And what that means for how they approach games. During free agency signings, one of the recurring questions I was asking new players coming into the system, veteran players coming into this system, was what's the word on the street about the Washington Commanders when you played them last year? That was one of the questions I had to Jacob Martin, who had a great camp. That was one of the questions I also had to Will Harris, who had a great camp. Again, mentioning Javon Kinlaw, again, he had a great camp. I know specifically those three I asked in their free agent signing press conferences about what the word out there was about the Commanders, what they saw, Will Harris and Jacob Martin, when they played against the Commanders. And everything is still locked in the same, right? In terms of the energy, that communication, that will to win, that thinking that they're going to beat anybody. Like that's just them, and just getting it, but not in an arrogant way, per se. It's swag for certain. Let me be clear. It's swag for certain, but it's also the knowledge of the trust of their film study and what they're doing in the film room, the trust of the relationship they have with their coaches, all of them, and how they're all working together. So none of these games are a fluke. They're all hard. They're all going to be hard. Every single last one of them. You could win all of them. You could lose all of them, right? I think that it's always the notion that nobody wants to lose all of them, right? That's that. Okay. But each one will be a challenge. And the Commanders are starting their season off with a short week. And Coach Quinn did share, we kind of preferred having the short week, just get it out the way now, right? But the New York Giants aren't the same New York Giants. And that short week now to the Green Bay Packers, no longer the Green Bay Packers aren't the same either because, oh, thanks a lot, Jerry Jones. You know, it's one thing to get Micah Parsons out of the division, but it's a whole other thing when you still have to end up seeing Micah Parsons because you actually play the team that he plays for now, okay? So the Green Bay Packers are different because that one player makes a difference. So you look straight up the first two games. You get into week 3. We already know they got Pete Carroll there. They got a lot of changes there, but oh, the love and the affection that so many have for Pete Carroll and the respect that is there across the league and with some of the players and coaches who are Commanders that they have for Pete Carroll. Then you look at it at the Atlanta Falcons. We already know they're going to be out for revenge, right, about what happened in Northwest Stadium. They'll be in their house. Then you look at, you know, the Chargers have a team. You look at the Dallas Cowboys. You go down the list, and we could talk about it all day. Then Chicago Bears coming back to Northwest Stadium. That's going to be a primetime game, and all eyes are going to be so much on this team that none of these games will be easy. It will all be hard. And I think at the root of it all, they have this brotherhood for real. And it's really, really real. And if I'm being transparent with you all, for a moment, I was like, is the brotherhood being impacted? And we're going to get to that in a moment because it's a part of the displays of brotherhood. But I'm going to get into the brotherhood now because I could talk about that a long time, about what I've seen and what I've witnessed. But I'm going to share through these pressers where I've seen the displays of brotherhood, and I could stamp what they're saying is absolutely accurate. I saw many, you know, Jeremy Reeves coaching up his teammates on the sideline during preseason game 3. That's one, because I saw many, but that's one that I wanted to highlight. Here's another one.
It's been a great day. Both sides of the ball just feels good to be back playing football. You know, you wait the whole off season, you train, you know, you get your body back right, get your mind back right. And then you just, you know, you get back around your teammates, back around your brothers, back around the people that you love playing football with. And you just, you know, it's just exciting to be out here. I love being out here every single day with these guys and just enjoying doing what we love.
Mikey Sanders still said it, and I had been seeing it already. I mean, these guys look like they're having the time of their life. And I think I said it on shout out to Fox Sports 1340 and the Urban Sports Scene. I think I said it on their show one time when I think someone asked me about, you know, the playing